Hello and happy holidays. My name is Jonathan Hudson and we're sitting down with our superintendent, Dr. Harold Olin. We're going to be discussing what's happening around our district right before we go on break. So first of all, how are you?
I'm doing very
Merry
well.
Christmas.
Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year to you
Merry
and
Christmas.
your family. So it's been a speedy semester, it seems like. So we're already at winter break. So, we're going to be discussing a few topics. So let's talk about our 3 new principals. Coming in, we only have 8 schools, so when you have 3 new principals, that's a pretty big change in leadership. So can you tell me about some of their initiatives and some of the things that they've been successful with at their buildings?
Well, let me start up north where we brought Joe Bowman in at Eden Elementary School, and certainly we had Malia Hammonds there for a long time, a GC alum, and had really gone through the ranks, and we miss you, Malia. She does great work, did great work for us, but we really feel like we have not missed a beat by bringing Joe Bowman. And Joe had been a principal in the LaPel schools just to the north of us, so a seasoned school leader. Knows a lot about reading, which is a big part of what we do in our elementary schools, build that strong reading foundation. He's got great people skills. I think the community has embraced him there. The staff has as well. So that's been a really good, smooth transition for us. And that one was our first hire that we did. So he hit the ground running day one. The second one would have been bringing in Bronson Curtis at Greenfield Intermediate School. We made a couple of changes in my office. I brought Devin Marine over to oversee our elementary education as the director. Bronson had been the assistant principal there last year, so the staff really had embraced him last year, and he knew what was going on there. He knew the staff, he knew the programs, and again, I'll use that same term there. I just don't feel like we missed anything in that transition. The one that surprised us a little bit, longtime administrator with us, Joby Whitaker at Maxwell, had an opportunity to do something a little bit different at another county school, so he left the principalship to take a director role. Hated to see Joby go. Joby and I had worked together for 25 years. But we had a similar situation there where we were able to bring in a very competent assistant principal, Lisa Lilliard, who's been with us for about 20 years. Started as a 4th grade teacher at Weston and was an instructional coach for us, had been a dean and an assistant principal for us. She knew Maxwell very well, knew that staff, knows our curriculum, and they have done quite well. So, when you say that 3 out of 8 schools having a different school leader, that's a daunting thing to hear, but I would tell you, we're doing good work in all 3 of those schools. All 3 of those leaders have my confidence that they're moving the schools forward in a positive way, building great relationships with kids, parents, and staff.
And it helps that 2 of them were, already in the district.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that made them really qualify to jump into a leadership role, maybe even unexpected, but still having experience in the district?
Well, you've been in Greenfield-Central quite a while, and you know that we talk a lot about the professional learning communities process, and really within our elementary schools, that is integral to what we do with our curriculum in terms of establishing what students need to know and be able to do, and then how we measure that through formative assessments, what we do with remediation and enrichment. So Bronson and Lisa being a big part of that, understanding the things that we like to push forward on the academic side. And certainly that's a big part of the principalship, is that instructional leadership lens. I say that particularly at that elementary level. But beyond that, you've got to have good people skills when it comes to leading people, managing people, working with the community, making sure that we're communicating well the things that are happening in the school. If there are any misunderstandings or questions, having that right approach to help our families understand what we're doing. We're fortunate that we have 3 leaders who do that.
That's very good to hear. I'm glad they're doing well. Hope they have a very successful end of the school year as well, or next semester rather.
Yeah, and since we talked last week, as we were talking about some of the things that we might want to highlight, I'm going to throw in there that we also brought in a new director of transportation. I hadn't even told you that.
Yeah,
but that was
I didn't know that.
That was at our board meeting last Monday.
Just got approved. Okay.
I did. We had 2 mechanics for a long time here and a director of transportation. Shortly after COVID, we lost our 2nd mechanic, and we've been down to 1 mechanic for a long time. I think very thankful for John up there who is taking care of that for us. But Todd Prezo for the last 9 years has been our director of transportation. He started as a mechanic with us 12, 14 years ago. He came to us and decided that he really wanted to go back to that mechanic's role. We had a need. We told him we would we would honor that request for him to go back to be a mechanic, and we started that process to find his replacement. And we just, the board just hired Chad Gray, who comes to us from Warren Township, where he's been the Assistant Director of Transportation, lives just to the west of Greenfield. So that was a transition we weren't expecting there, but it's one that actually helps us quite a bit. Todd knows what's going on up there, just would prefer to work on buses rather than play that director role. So I know I'm throwing a surprise in there, actually, but I'm kind of introducing to our community that it's something that we can now do. We do post our board meetings. They're recorded and they're on our website, so if somebody wants to see who Chad Gray is, you could see that on our website. But I certainly welcome him. He will join us December 27th. He'll join us for a couple days before the end of the year.
Good. Well, welcome, Chad. We're happy to have you. Welcome to the district. And certainly his responsibility at Warren, even being the assistant with such a big district.
Yeah, he's going from over 100 buses to about 35 buses here.
Yeah, so sounds like a great fit. So we have winter programming going on, which we're excited about. We got magical, we got drama. Of course, you know, your daughter was heavily involved in those things when she was here. Our winter sports are underway. So is there anything you've been able to see? I know you usually make it to the Madrigal dinner.
I was at the Madrigal dinner last Sunday. That was fantastic. I think it's just amazing the way we bring a new role of kids in. That script changes a little bit each year. A couple of the old favorite songs that I love to hear. It's a great opportunity for our kids to showcase their talent while at the same point having a great meal. I mean, who doesn't love the Copper Kettle food? So it was wonderful last week, and we thank our partners at Trinity Park that allow us to use their facility at a very low cost to us. It's just a nice venue for that and that gymnasium. Speaking of gymnasium, I have not missed any of our home basketball games for boys or girls. Now, the boys have only had one at home, but they had a big win on the road at New Palestine last weekend, and a couple wins this weekend. They had a game at the Hoosier Gym.
We got to broadcast that.
Oh, I didn't know you were there for that.
Yep. We sent a couple of students that got to do it.
So that was good. And our girls basketball team, well in the winning ways, well above 500 this year. Have had some big wins. I think they've only had that one loss in the conference to Pendleton at this point. But that's been a lot of fun to watch our basketball programs. I know our kids work very hard, and of course, Coach Key, Coach Meredith. It's nice to have some continuity in those programs. And they've been on their winning ways the last 2 years. So those have been a lot of fun. You also referenced, I did see the drama performance that we did a few weeks ago. Again, our kids work so hard on that, and it's just so good to see that come to fruition, all the work that they're doing for weeks on end to prepare for that. Everybody from the actors to what's going on behind the scenes to make the scene appropriate, and the lighting and the sound. It takes a lot of people to put on a production like that, and that's something I'm very proud of that we do here at Greenfield-Central High School, would be those performing arts. And of course, we also had the band choir performance that happened this last weekend as well. So just another opportunity to showcase to our community, not just our parents, but the number of grandparents and community members that attend that. It's a happy time for me, a joyous time for me.
It's always a good turnout. Always Christmas themed, always a lot going on, always great to see. So this was new to me when you put it in our notes, but we are receiving a $450,000 grant for reading instruction. Can you tell us what that is, where it's come from, and how we plan to use those funds?
That was a competitive grant with the state of Indiana. We were one of just a handful of schools that received that full funding at $450,000. So I take my hat off to Robin LeClaire, Director of Student Services, and as well as Devin Marine, our elementary director, for what they put into that grant to make it appealing. But you know, we put a lot into the reading foundations here, and we have for a long time. We've made some shifts here over the last 2 years. You hear a lot about the science of reading, and it's really an approach to the 5 pillars of reading, and we've done that well, but we're bolstering that with some professional development, some additional resources that we'll be able to put in the hands of students and teachers. And we will actually spend all that by August of 2024. So it's a quick timeline where we've pushed this investment into it. And I'm proud of where our reading scores have been. Our I-read scores at third grade have been above 90% for a long time. We've been between that really 91 and 94% over the last 4 or 5 years, even through COVID. The state put out a pretty big goal of 95%. They'd like to see all schools hit that benchmark here in the next couple years, and we feel like this is something that better equips us to move the needle forward there. So I'm just very proud of what my staff's been able to do on that front. That was, like I said, a very competitive grant, and for us to shine above the other 292 public school corporations to get that, very proud of them.
Yeah, they did great work. So is a lot of the funds going to be used for specific programming, additional staff perhaps, TAs or anything like that?
A lot of it is on professional development, where
Okay.
we're bringing staff in, some
Good.
experts to support us, and that's through the school year,
Okay.
not just on our e-learning days, but that'll be happening through the school year, working that in to meet with teachers. We are buying some resources. I know we're buying geodes would be one of those tools. We've got another one on writing that is connected to that science of reading as well. So it's a combination of things. The only staffing piece, we are shifting some of that education fund costs to that grant for one of our reading specialists. But other than that, it's really going toward professional development and some resources.
Very good. And then along those same lines, we're also receiving an early literacy grant. That's coming in January or February. Can you tell us about that and the process of getting those funds?
I tell you, that was a surprise. That was actually in House Bill 1001, kind of buried in that budget bill. That $10 million was set aside for reading achievement. It's kind of a misnamed, I'll say that. It's called an achievement grant. The state really awarded growth on this. And I was telling you earlier that our scores have been between 91 and 94%. We didn't have significant growth from 2022 to 2023. Our grant was for $19,300, and it's really odd in that it was written in such a way that it goes toward educators up through third grade. You know, the TAG grant, the Teacher Appreciation Grant, we receive about $160,000 for that, where that goes to all of our teachers,
Okay.
kindergarten through 12th grade here at the high school.
Yep.
This is something that was specific to, it could be preschool through third grade teachers that really speak into that reading process. We talked about this yesterday with Mr. Wiley. This actually comes out to be about $250. It's not a huge grant, but you may hear some murmurs out there. There are places around us. Pendleton, for instance, received over $150,000, whereas we received $19,000. They had a huge growth from where they'd been the year before. They'd been in the mid-80s and jumped into the 90s. So that qualified them for a little bit more. I don't want to have sour grapes. I'm just happy that anything came our direction.
Money is money.
It
right?
is. I think there may be some misconceptions about why some schools received a lot more. I mean, Muncie schools received a couple $100,000. They're about the same size that we are.
Sure.
Their achievement much lower than us, but they had a lot of growth.
Yeah, got it. So
But we're happy. We'll be happy to push that forward to about a quarter of our teachers. That'll go out sometime probably in February.
Yeah, and it's a great job by your staff and everyone just paying attention to these things and getting our name in the hat. That's all you can do.
Yep.
So as we kind of start to close this out, construction projects, the auditorium, we talk about it a lot. I ask every time I see you, I ask about it.
You see this big smile on my
I
face
know.
every time we talk about the auditorium.
Yeah. It's coming along good. I haven't been in there yet, but what can you tell us where they're at? What stages are they working on right now?
You know, we continue to give an update to the board in every one of our school board meetings, generally showing them pictures that will clearly illustrate the growth that's happened on that project. We received a little bit of disappointment in that we found out we're probably about 2 months behind schedule. I was geared toward having our opening day meeting next year at the end of July. It's looking like that'll be the end of September instead of the end of July before we get in there. Not a big deal in terms of the impact that'll have on kids. We should still be able to have our fall production there.
Yep.
A lot of the band, choir, jazz band stuff that we would do in the fall. Hopefully we can still hit that timeline to be in there. We should be able to wrap up the corridor that's on the north side of the gym by the start of school next year, but the literal box, the auditorium, will have some things that we'll be wrapping up in that August, September timeline. But we continue to make good progress on that. I mean, we have the slab poured on those corridors, that L, so to speak, one that goes east, one that goes north, both on the first floor and the second floor. I could tell you that inside that auditorium box, we do have what we call that waterfall seating, where it connects the balcony to that main level. We have the framework in place for that. The metal is in there for that. One of the things that is, we took great attention in this, and that it's about a 35-foot box, so to speak, and we made the decision to put the ductwork in the ground rather than putting that 35 feet in the air. The problem with having it 35 feet in the air is you have to force that air down, which means your fans are going to create some noise. We didn't want to do that, so we put it in the ground where it doesn't need near that kind of fan
pressure,
speed and pressure and sound to keep that a comfortable environment for us. But because of that, you have to be you get one chance to do it right when you're pouring a slab over the top of that. So that's taken a little bit longer. They had to work that ductwork around that structural steel that they're putting in there, and just trying to orchestrate all those contractors in that tight spot. We just found out that we're a little bit behind. We're going to be okay. As I said to the board, once I got past the disappointment, we really moved forward with our problem-solving mode and how we can make that the best experience for our kids day one next year. I mean, kids establish habits starting on day one, everywhere from where they park and where they're going to enter the school. We'd like to have those things in place that it doesn't impact that. If we can just box off the auditorium and continue that work there in August and September, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. So it's better to do it right.
It is.
Get it done right.
It's something that should be an asset to this community for 50, 60, 70 years or beyond.
Yeah.
You want to do it right.
You want to stay the art. My dad's a pastor. He says, don't rush the surgeon.
No,
right?
no, exactly.
don't rush the surgeon. So as we wrap up, got any plans for break? I know you guys go to Florida often. You going to break out the clubs at all?
You remember me well.
Yes.
Fortunate that the family does own a place down in Fort Myers, so we'll spend a little bit of time there in the new year, probably 4 or 5 days, just to warm up a little bit, put the feet in some sand, and yes, there is a set of golf clubs down there that I will probably play at least once when I'm down there.
Good. No driving range, just go right on the course, right?
Yes, that's all right. At my age, and the expectation
anymore.
is just getting out there to play brings joy.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Enjoy your break with your family. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you.